Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a company you've long associated, with online shopping, a real household name in e-commerce. And then suddenly it's making headlines for something, well, completely different. That's exactly what happened with Alibaba recently. Its shares in Hong Kong, they didn't just, inch up. They rocketed, jumped a staggering 19% in just one trading session.
Yeah, 19%.
For a company of Alibaba's size, its market cap. I mean, this isn't just a good day, right?
No, not at all. It's pretty seismic, actually. It suggests a profound reevaluation of its identity, its future.
Exactly. At a jump like that, it really begs the question, what huge forces could possibly be driving such a, well, powerful re-rating for a global giant like Alibaba? What shifted investor confidence so dramatically?
Well, what's genuinely fascinating here, and what our deep dive into the sources really shows, is that this surge has almost nothing to do with e-commerce, not directly anyway.
Really, not e-commerce.
No, not primarily. It seems to be driven by two incredibly powerful and synergistic catalysts working together. First, there's been reported acceleration in Alibaba's cloud computing unit. That's a big one, showing real growth in a critical infrastructure sector.
Okay, cloud growth. Makes sense.
And second, and this might be even more significant looking forward, are these widespread reports of a new proprietary AI chip. An AI chip that Alibaba is developing itself.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So this deep dive, what we're going to do is explore Alibaba's big strategic pivot. It's a clear move away from being an e-commerce giant. And we'll look at the far-reaching, fascinating ripple effects, how this hits cloud, AI generally, and critically for our discussion, how it sends waves across the crypto and Web3 space. Our mission today really is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from all this information, give you a shortcut to being properly well-informed about this really dynamic intersection of technologies.
And before we dive deeper into all these fascinating developments, just a quick note to you, our curious listener.
Yeah.
If you find these deep dives valuable and you want us to keep creating quality content like this, please just take a moment to like this video, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell.
Yeah, it genuinely helps.
It really does. Your engagement, whether it's a comment, maybe sharing it, or even just a simple it really helps support what we do here. It boosts our visibility in the algorithms and lets us reach more people like you who are, well, hungry for this kind of knowledge.
Definitely appreciate it.
All right, with that said, let's peel back the layers. Let's get to the immediate catalyst. What was the headline that really grabbed the market's attention? The thing that shifted perception practically overnight?
Well, the headline, as you said right at the top, was indeed striking. Alibaba's Hong Kong listed shares, a massive 19% jump.
19%. It's still hard to wrap your head around for a company that big.
It really is. I mean, to put it in perspective, think about a company with a market cap often in the hundreds of billions of dollars. A 19% single-day increase. That's tens of billions in added value, instantly.
Wow.
It's not the kind of move you usually see unless there's, a huge merger or some completely unexpected earnings blowout.
Right, so it signals something deeper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This kind of market reaction signals an immediate, profound shift in how investors see the company. It's driven by a very strong belief in its future direction, its strategic pivot. It shows investors are reevaluating Alibaba not just on its past e-commerce success or even its current diverse businesses, but on its potential as a future leader. A leader in, high growth, high margin sectors like AI and cloud computing.
So a fundamental re-rating.
Precisely. It's a powerful vote of confidence. It goes way beyond just minor market fluctuations. It acts as a significant re-rating of the company's fundamental value and where it's headed in the global tech race. This isn't just some fleeting trend. It's a clear market signal that something fundamental is changing right at Alibaba's core. Its whole identity is shifting.
That's a staggering figure, absolutely. But like you said, it's not just the number itself, it's what's behind that number. So what were the specific catalysts that sparked this incredible jump, and why do they matter so much, beyond just that one big day on the stock market?
Yeah, good question. Our analysis shows the jump was really fueled by two absolutely critical factors. And crucially, when you combine them, they create this powerful strategic synergy. Firstly, as we mentioned, sources reported a significant acceleration in Alibaba's cloud unit, Alibaba Cloud.
Right.
This is vital because it signals strong growth, increasing adoption of their cloud services. It shows good foundational health in a vital sector. Cloud is the backbone of the modern digital economy, right? Correct.
Absolutely. Recurring revenue, sticky customers.
Exactly. And it's essential infrastructure for pretty much all tech development nowadays. So that's factor one, strong cloud growth. Secondly, and this is arguably the more forward-looking catalyst, were these persistent reports about a new proprietary AI chip.
A chip again.
The chip that Alibaba is developing itself. This isn't just like a minor upgrade in processing power. It's a strategic move,
Yep.
a move towards becoming a foundational technology provider, controlling a really critical layer of the whole AI stack.
Okay, so designing their own silicon.
Yes. These chips are specifically designed, tailored, to power next-gen AI applications. Think large language models, advanced machine learning, complex data analytics, intelligent automation, all that stuff. Developing custom silicon like this allows for, well, unparalleled optimization between the hardware and the software, tailored precisely for Alibaba's cloud environment and their specific AI workloads.
Vertical integration.
That's the term. This vertical integration isn't just a nice to have, it's becoming a strategic imperative in the intensely competitive AI and cloud world.
So if we pull back the curtain a bit, like you said, what's really fascinating is this powerful AI plus cloud combo. We're not just talking about two separate business units doing well. Why are these two elements so critically important together? What kind of strategic moat does Alibaba actually create by developing both?
That's precisely the core insight. Yeah, the AI plus cloud combo isn't just, convenient. It's a bottleneck buster. It creates a truly vertically integrated moat. Cloud infrastructure and these custom chips, they aren't just components. They are the fundamental backbone, the essential building blocks for almost all advanced AI models and applications being developed today.
Okay, break that down a bit. Why is that integration so key?
Think of it this way. AI models, especially the really big ones, the large language models like, say, ChatGPT or complex machine learning algorithms, they require absolutely massive amounts of specialized computational power.
Right, huge compute needs.
Huge. And general purpose CPUs, the kind in your laptop, while they're great for everyday stuff, they're just not efficient enough for these really demanding AI tasks.
That's where specialized chips come in.
Exactly. Like GPUs, graphics processing units, or these custom-designed AI accelerators, sometimes called ASICs, application-specific integrated circuits. These chips are engineered specifically for parallel processing, doing millions, even billions of calculations simultaneously, which is precisely what AI training and inference demand.
Okay, so you need the special chips. Where does the cloud part fit so tightly?
Right. So where do these specialized chips live and operate at the scale needed in the cloud? Cloud infrastructure provides that scalable, on-demand compute power, the vast data storage needed for training data, and the super high-speed networking that's indispensable for training and deploying these complex models across different applications.
So the cloud provides the playground for the chips.
A massive, scalable playground and an integrated stack where a company like Alibaba now designs its own hardware, optimizes its software perfectly for that hardware, and then offers it all through its own cloud platform that's incredibly crucial. This full vertical integration allows for, well, unparalleled efficiency, better performance, and often significant cost control, too. It essentially creates a powerful integrated ecosystem. Alibaba can fine-tune every single layer, right from the silicon chip itself, up through the software, all the way to the service delivery through the cloud.
Making it tough for competitors.
Very tough. Much harder for competitors who maybe rely on buying chips from outside vendors or who don't have their own massive cloud infrastructure to match those capabilities and optimizations. This combination, AI plus cloud, especially with custom hardware, it's not just an advantage anymore. It's increasingly seen as a prerequisite, really, for achieving competitive dominance in this fierce global AI race.
So, thinking about Alibaba's ambitions then, what does this all mean? It really sounds like they're making a very clear, very bold statement about their place in the future tech landscape. They're not just, playing in the sandbox. They're trying to build the entire playground, maybe even charge admission.
That's one way to put it.
But is it truly realistic? Can Alibaba replicate both Nvidia's hardware dominance, that ecosystem you mentioned, and AWS's cloud dominance, especially given the different market dynamics in China? What are the biggest hurdles they face beyond just, the tech development itself?
That's a genuinely probing question, yeah. And the sources definitely indicate that Alibaba is positioning itself as China's direct answer to that powerful combination. Nvidia for the AI chips and AWS for the cloud services.
The Nvidia plus AWS of China. That's ambitious.
Hugely ambitious, and the comparison isn't made lightly. Nvidia, as we know, has become the undisputed king of AI hardware. not just selling powerful GPUs, but building that entire ecosystem around its CUDA platform. It's the de facto standard globally for AI development.
All right, CUDA is everywhere.
And similarly, AWS dominates the global cloud market, providing the essential infrastructure for countless businesses, AI applications included. So replicating this dual dominance, it's an enormous challenge, even for a company with the resources and scale of Alibaba.
What makes it so hard, specifically?
Well, take Nvidia's success. It isn't just about the hardware itself. It's about decades of winning developer mindshare. It's the vast library of optimized software, the deep integration into academic research, industrial research. CUDA is deeply entrenched.
So Alibaba needs more than just a good chip.
Exactly. For Alibaba, building a proprietary chip means they also have to build a compelling software stack to go with it. And they need to attract developers, convince them to build on their ecosystem. That's a monumental undertaking, especially when CUDA is the global standard. Plus, think about the cloud side. While AWS benefits from a truly global market, Alibaba Cloud's primary strength currently is still largely within China and Southeast Asia.
Right, expanding globally is tough.
Very tough. Especially in cloud, against entrenched giants like AWS, Azure, Google. You face hurdles around data sovereignty rules in different countries, complex compliance regulations, and frankly, issues of international trust and politics. So while the ambition is crystal clear, the path forward is definitely fraught with significant challenges. Execution challenges, ecosystem building challenges, market penetration challenges. These go way beyond just developing a technically good chip. And for you, our listener, this raises a fascinating question to consider. What are the broader implications if a single company does manage to dominate both these critical layers of the AI stack, potentially creating a very powerful, maybe even closed ecosystem? It's a significant potential shift in global tech power, but one that demands incredible resources and strategic finesse. And you mentioned hurdles. This ambition also has significant geopolitical undercurrents, especially when you view it through the lens of recent U.S. chip export restrictions.
Yeah. That adds another layer entirely.
A huge layer. If we connect this to the bigger picture, China developing its own domestic AI hardware, spearheaded by giants like Alibaba, has massive global implications. This goes way beyond just market share battles. This isn't just Alibaba versus Nvidia or AWS. It's about national technological sovereignty. It's a strategic response to external pressures.
So the U.S. restrictions are actually driving this push?
To a significant extent, yes. The U.S. government's export restrictions on advanced semiconductors and the equipment needed to make them. They're designed to limit China's progress in cutting-edge AI and advanced computing. These are seen as critical for future economic growth, tech leadership, and even national security.
Right, a strategic containment effort.
Pretty much. And in response, Chinese tech giants, often with, let's be clear, significant state support and a clear national mandate, are accelerating their efforts like crazy. They're trying to develop indigenous capabilities across the entire semiconductor value chain: chip design, IP, manufacturing, packaging, the whole works.
Self-sufficiency becomes the goal.
Exactly. Alibaba's aggressive move into proprietary AI chips is a direct strategic response to this challenging geopolitical environment. It's an effort to drastically reduce reliance on foreign tech, particularly from the U.S. It's about securing a domestic, resilient supply chain for critical AI components, making sure China isn't held hostage, technologically speaking, by external bottlenecks.
What are the potential global consequences of that, if they succeed?
Well, this push for self-sufficiency could lead to a significant and maybe even permanent bifurcation, a splitting of the global tech ecosystems.
Two separate tech worlds.
Potentially. Instead of a single interconnected global standard for hardware, software, cloud services, we might see the emergence of distinct parallel tech stacks. One primarily Western-led, one perhaps China-centric.
How would that actually look?
It could manifest in several ways. You might see different open source projects diverging into localized versions, proprietary software stacks optimized only for specific hardware within, say, China. It could create huge challenges for international companies trying to operate across these diverging systems, compatibility nightmares.
Oh, wow.
The long-term consequences could be profound for global innovation. It might slow down collaborative R&D, create those compatibility issues. It could force nations and companies to effectively choose sides. Some people talk about digital iron curtains in certain critical tech areas.
It sounds complicated.
It is. It raises complex questions about intellectual property, data flows, who ultimately controls the future of technology development, it forces us to consider the real implications of a truly bifurcated technological world. Which brings us back to that question. Do you, our listener, think Alibaba can truly become the Nvidia of China with this AI chip move? It's an enormous challenge, needing not just tech skill, but immense political will, huge investment. But the stakes are equally enormous, generational, really.
That certainly paints a picture of intense competition, not just corporate, but geopolitical and economic too. It also raises an important question for us, I think. If this strategic pivot is successful, if Alibaba really does establish itself as a dominant force in AI hardware and cloud within its sphere, what kind of ripple effects could we see? Specifically, how might this shake up the world of crypto and Web3, which, often feels like it's operating in its own parallel universe? Are these two worlds really isolated, or are the shockwaves from Alibaba's move bound to impact decentralized tech?
Now here's where it gets really interesting, particularly at that intersection, AI and blockchain. Because the development of faster, cheaper, more accessible AI compute facilitated by players like Alibaba, that opens up a wealth of new opportunities in this rapidly emerging field of AI plus blockchain convergence.
Right.
The two are becoming increasingly intertwined. It's not just hype anymore.
Okay, absolutely. But for many people, AI and blockchain still feel like two distinct, maybe even complicated worlds. You mentioned a potential spillover of demand into decentralized compute networks earlier. How does one directly benefit the other, especially with Alibaba's compute leap making powerful AI potentially more accessible, more ubiquitous?
That's a great point. The increasing demand for AI compute, especially as these models get bigger and used more widely, may very well spill directly into decentralized compute networks. Think of it as a fundamental, almost insatiable need for processing power, a need that the centralized giants, even with their massive scale, might not fully satisfy in every single niche, or they might satisfy it, but at a premium price point.
Creating an opening.
Exactly. This creates a kind of vacuum, or at least an opportunity, that decentralized alternatives are actively seeking to fill. These decentralized compute networks, they use blockchain tech, fundamentally, to create marketplaces for unused or underutilized GPU and CPU power.
So instead of one big data center.
Right. Instead of relying on a single company's massive data centers, these networks connect a global mesh, a network of individual contributors who rent out their hardware power. Our sources specifically highlight projects like Akash Network, Render Network, and Bitensor as prime examples of this growing sector.
Can you give a quick flavor of what they do?
Sure. Akash, for instance, operates like a peer-to-peer marketplace for cloud computing. Users can bid for compute resources, often aiming for lower costs than traditional providers. Render Network, well, it's known for its distributed GPU rendering power, initially for 3D graphics, but increasingly finding use in AI tasks, too, because AI loves that parallel processing GPUs offer. And Bitensor, that's a bit different. It aims to build a decentralized network of machine learning models, kind of like a collective AI brain, rewarding people for contributing their models and intelligence.
Okay, interesting. And what are the advantages these decentralized options might offer?
So, several potential advantages come to mind, aligning really well with the Web3 ethos. Imagine enhanced censorship resistance, for one.
Right. Harder to shut down.
Much harder. A truly decentralized network is inherently more difficult for any single entity, be it a government or a corporation, to control or censor. That's a core principle. Then there's the potential for greater cost effectiveness. By tapping into a global pool of distributed, often idle resources, these networks might be able to offer more competitive pricing compared to the big cloud providers with their huge overheads.
Makes sense.
Also, potentially greater accessibility. Anyone with compatible hardware could theoretically contribute, which could democratize access to powerful computing resources, fostering innovation for more places, not just relying on the tech giants. So the question for you, maybe as a developer, maybe just as an interested observer, is how might you personally benefit from these decentralized compute options in an AI-driven future? They represent a powerful counter-narrative, a potentially crucial alternative to centralized control, especially as AI becomes even more critical.
So we're definitely seeing a clear, almost immediate connection. When traditional tech giants like Alibaba make these kinds of big strategic moves, there's a direct, tangible impact on specific crypto sectors. It's a really fascinating cross-market sentiment effect. It highlights how interconnected these seemingly disparate financial worlds actually are, kind of challenging that idea of separate ecosystems.
Indeed. And this news impacts different types of investors in quite distinct ways, which really showcases the complex interplay of market sentiment. For traditional equity investors, Alibaba stock could absolutely see renewed momentum, like we discussed. As it successfully pivots, or is perceived to be pivoting from e-commerce to AI cloud leadership, the market will re-rate its potential.
Right, potential long-term revaluation.
Exactly. Not just a short-term bump, it's based on shifting into those high-growth, high-margin sectors that typically command higher valuations in the market. We've seen this story play out before with other tech giants.
And what about crypto investors?
For crypto investors, the news is pretty unequivocally bullish for what we often call AI tokens. These are projects deeply involved in the AI and blockchain intersection. Think specifically of names like Fetch.ai, FET, SingularityNet, AGIX, and Render Network, RNDR, which we just mentioned.
Why bullish for them specifically?
Because as institutional AI adoption accelerates, and as major players like Alibaba signal their deep commitment to AI, it creates this powerful narrative, a story that spills over into these specialized crypto assets. The narrative suggests that the underlying tech and mission of these crypto projects are gaining real-world validation, increased relevance. That makes them attractive to investors looking to, get ahead of the curve on the next big tech wave.
So it implies broader acceptance, broader utility for AI, which these projects are part of.
Precisely. Part of decentralizing it or enhancing it in some way.
And what about traders? Maybe those looking for shorter-term plays.
Well, for traders, particularly those looking for more speculative angles or who follow macro trends closely, this kind of news might prompt a search for, say, China-related tokens. Projects like NEO, or maybe Conflux, which have historical or strategic links to the Chinese ecosystem, or are perhaps positioned as compliant blockchain solutions within China. They could see speculative interest.
Why them?
Traders might anticipate some kind of indirect benefit. Maybe hope for a broader loosening of regulations for certain types of blockchain use in China, or perhaps increased adoption of these specific projects within China's tech initiatives, even if that's a more distant speculative prospect.
Okay, so it triggers speculation across related assets.
It certainly can, and this really brings up an important question. How closely correlated are these markets really? The correlation between AI stock rallies and crypto AI token rallies, that's a metric absolutely worth watching.
Is it a reliable correlation?
Sure. It seems to suggest, at least recently, that broad institutional excitement for AI in traditional stocks can directly translate into speculative interest and price action in these specialized crypto projects. It's often driven largely by what we call narrative drive in crypto.
Narrative drive.
Yeah. When major headlines hit, like Alibaba's chip news emphasizing AI, it quickly becomes a powerful catalyst for specific token categories. This often happens even if the direct, immediate partnership or application isn't immediately obvious to everyone. Sentiment and future speculation just take hold. Our sources highlight those FET and AGIX surges as prime examples, AI tokens that experience significant pumps purely on the back of general AI adoption narratives. So the question for you, our listener, becomes, if AI stocks pump, will AI crypto tokens reliably follow? Or is this correlation maybe more nuanced, more prone to divergence in the long run? It's a pattern that's becoming really relevant, but one that definitely demands careful analysis separating underlying fundamentals from pure speculation.
It certainly seems like a fascinating interplay between markets driven by these big tech narratives. But you mentioned China-related tokens, and it does seem to present a significant contradiction, doesn't it? On one hand, we have this general perception, largely accurate, of a very cautious, even restrictive stance on crypto from Beijing. Strict regulations, bans on certain activities.
Right, the crackdown narrative is strong.
Exactly. Yet, here's Alibaba, arguably the face of Chinese tech innovation, making massive moves into AI and cloud moves that could very well fuel blockchain AI projects, indirectly if not directly. What does this really mean for China's true involvement in Web3? Are they hot or cold on it, or is there a more nuanced strategy at play here?
That's a critical observation, yeah. And it absolutely highlights the nuanced, often complex approach China takes towards emerging technologies like blockchain and AI. It's definitely not a simple yes or no on Web3 or crypto in general. China is incredibly focused on controlling its digital economy, maintaining financial stability, ensuring data sovereignty. That explains the extreme caution around permissionless, decentralized cryptocurrencies that could bypass state control or facilitate illicit financial flows.
Like control is key.
Control is paramount. However, China also has this fierce determination to lead in critical technological fields, especially artificial intelligence. The nation views AI as a strategic imperative for future economic growth, industrial upgrading, geopolitical influence. It's vital.
So they like the tech, but not the crypto speculation.
Essentially, yes. What we seem to be witnessing is a strategic distinction. While Beijing might be deeply wary of DeFi, speculative tokens, anonymous digital assets, it is very much interested in the underlying blockchain technology itself. Interested in its potential to improve enterprise efficiency, enhance supply chains, secure digital identities, facilitate transparent data sharing, but only in areas where it can be controlled, permissioned, and integrated into existing state-backed systems.
So compliant Web3.
Exactly. This is where the concept of compliant Web3 projects comes into play. These are blockchain initiatives designed to operate strictly within the regulatory frameworks acceptable to the Chinese government. This often means things like built-in KYC, data localization requirements, maybe state-controlled digital identities, potentially permission network access rather than fully open.
And Conflux fits this model.
Our sources point specifically to China's Conflux blockchain as a prime example of this strategy. Conflux is actively marketed as a compliant public blockchain. It's explicitly designed to help Chinese expansion into blockchain tech while adhering to national regulations.
So it acts as a bridge.
A bridge, exactly. Allowing traditional enterprises to leverage blockchain benefits, efficiency, transparency without falling foul of strict local laws. It suggests a future where China might develop its own distinct regulated Web3 ecosystem, one that likely prioritizes enterprise solutions, industrial applications, maybe state-sanctioned services, rather than the global, permissionless, often pseudonymous ideals common in Western Web3 projects.
A separate Web3 world again?
Could be. This could lead to a significant bifurcation of the global Web3 landscape itself. Different regions developing their own versions of blockchain tech that align with their political and economic philosophies. It raises a provocative question for you, our listener. Is this bullish for China's role in Web3? Does it signal a unique path to adoption, a powerful domestic ecosystem? Or will regulators ultimately keep truly open, permissionless crypto firmly on the sidelines in China indefinitely, limiting its global impact? It's a really key strategic divergence to watch.
We spent a good amount of time talking about Alibaba's cloud acceleration, its strategic importance, the AI chip. But let's zoom out for a moment, consider the broader landscape. When we think of cloud computing at scale, we inevitably think of these massive centralized players. How does Alibaba Cloud actually stack up against these global titans? And what does this inherent centralization imply for the broader tech landscape, especially when we consider the core principles of Web3?
Yeah, zooming out is important. When we look at global cloud market share, it's a familiar story, really, a consistent set of names dominating the landscape. It's basically an oligopoly. You have AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and Alibaba Cloud.
A big four.
The big four, effectively. Alibaba's growth trajectory has definitely been one to watch. They've aggressively expanded their cloud footprint, especially within Asia, becoming a really formidable player with significant market share in that region, no doubt about it. However, the sheer dominance of these few centralized entities, especially for critical infrastructure, and especially for something as foundational and compute-hungry as AI, well, it raises an important philosophical and practical debate, a debate that directly impacts the Web3 ethos.
What's the core of that debate?
Well, on one hand, these centralized cloud providers offer undeniable advantages. That's why they're dominant. They benefit from massive economies of scale, right? Building incredibly robust, redundant, secure infrastructure across the globe. Their services are typically easy to manage, highly reliable, think of those uptime guarantees, and they offer this vast ecosystem of integrated tools, developer services, features that simplify really complex operations. For many businesses, that convenience, reliability, comprehensive support, it's paramount.
But there's a but.
There's always a but. On the other hand, this centralization comes with potential drawbacks. Drawbacks that are becoming increasingly discussed, especially within the Web3 community, as we think about the future of data and computation. We're talking about things like single points of failure. An outage at one provider can bring down vast swaths of the internet, critical services relying on them. We've seen it happen.
Right.
There are also significant data sovereignty issues. Users might have limited control over exactly where their data physically resides, who can access it. That's a big concern for privacy, for compliance in different regions. Censorship risks are inherent, too. A centralized entity can, theoretically, be pressured by governments or commercial interests to remove content, restrict access to services or data.
Vendor lock-in, too, presumably.
Absolutely. Vendor lock-in is pervasive. It becomes difficult, costly for businesses to migrate their extensive operations if they become unhappy with a provider, or if pricing structures suddenly change unfavorably, you're kind of stuck. So it's this fundamental trade-off between convenience and control, a trade-off that has profound implications for the future of digital infrastructure, especially for anyone building on decentralized principles.
This raises an important question, that a really core one. If these centralized giants, Alibaba, AWS, Azure, Google, are increasingly dominating critical cloud infrastructure,
Yeah.
especially the very compute power needed for this AI revolution we're in, how does that fundamentally align with the core ethos of Web3, which, so fiercely champions decentralization? It feels like a real tension, maybe even a potential compromise, right at the very heart of the movement.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. The cloud decentralization debate isn't just some side discussion. It is absolutely fundamental for Web3 to truly fulfill its promise.
Ah,
If DeFi applications, DApps, other Web3 projects, if they're built predominantly on top of centralized cloud infrastructure like AWS or Azure, they inherently compromise their own core principles.
so.
They compromise being truly permissionless, truly censorship resistant, truly free from single points of control or failure. It creates a critical dependency, right? A central vulnerability that really undermines the whole ethos of decentralization and user sovereignty that Web3 is supposed to be about.
So Web3 needs its own infrastructure layer.
Ideally, yes. This is precisely why decentralized compute networks are emerging as such crucial contenders. They're attempting to offer true, verifiable alternatives. They aim to distribute power and control, moving away from that monolithic structure of traditional cloud. And the arguments for decentralized cloud are compelling. They directly address those drawbacks of centralization we just talked about.
Like resilience.
Exactly. First, resilience. By distributing compute tasks across numerous globally dispersed nodes, the risk of a single point of failure is drastically reduced. If one node goes offline, the network can just seamlessly reroute tasks to others. That ensures continuous operation, high availability, crucial for mission-critical apps.
And censorship resistance.
Second, censorship resistance. With no single central authority controlling the infrastructure, it becomes significantly harder for any one government or corporation to control, shut down, or censor services running on these networks. That's a core value proposition for many Web3 applications, obviously.
What about cost?
Third, potentially cost efficiency. By leveraging that global pool of often underutilized hardware from individual contributors, these networks might offer more competitive, market-driven pricing. They benefit from distributed resources rather than needing to maintain those massive, expensive data centers themselves.
And data control.
And finally, data sovereignty. Users potentially gain greater, verifiable control over where their data is stored and processed. That aligns perfectly with the Web3 ideal of user ownership and control over their digital assets and information. Our sources, again, reiterate projects like Render, RNDR, Akash, Bitensor as direct examples of this movement. Render, focusing on GPU power. Akash, building that open cloud marketplace. Bitensor, creating a decentralized network for machine learning itself.
You mentioned TVL earlier, total value locked, for these networks.
Yes, metrics like decentralized compute TVL are becoming important indicators to track adoption and economic activity on these platforms. TVL, in this context, represents the total economic value often in staked tokens committed to securing and powering these networks. It includes tokens locked by resource providers as collateral, maybe value represented by active computing jobs. It's basically a measure of confidence and utility within these growing ecosystems.
So it forces a choice.
It really forces a choice for you, our listener. Would you trust decentralized AI networks like RNDR and FET with their promises of resilience, censorship resistance, potentially lower costs? Or do you ultimately stick with the established giants like Alibaba and Microsoft with their proven reliability, industrial scale, integrated ecosystems? But knowing the inherent trade-offs in control and decentralization, it's a fundamental question facing the future of computing and digital sovereignty itself.
Let's draw on a powerful parallel here, maybe make it even clearer. When we look at the market today, Nvidia is the undeniable, undisputed king of AI hardware. Their rise, their stock price. It's been astounding, directly fueled by the AI boom. What lessons can Alibaba, with its ambitious AI chip push, learn from Nvidia's incredible journey? Is there a blueprint for success in that model, or are the circumstances just too different?
Yeah, the Nvidia comparison is unavoidable, and it's really instructive. That Alibaba stock price versus Nvidia stock price comparison, even conceptually, shows how AI chip plays can fundamentally move markets, not just incrementally, but explosively. But Nvidia's success, crucially, wasn't just about selling powerful GPUs, though obviously that was key. Their real genius, looking back, lay in building an entire ecosystem around their hardware.
To EDA.
CUDA, exactly. They developed CD, that parallel computing platform and programming model, and it became the de facto standard for AI development globally. Developers, researchers, companies, they invested heavily in building their AI applications and models on CUDA-enabled NVIDIA GPUs. This created a powerful network effect and significant vendor lock-in, frankly.
Wasn't just the chip.
It was never just the chip. It was a comprehensive development environment that fueled innovation and cemented their market leadership. They fostered a global community, continually invested in software, libraries, tools that made their hardware indispensable.
So how does Alibaba learn from that?
Well, Alibaba is clearly attempting a similar feat with its integrated cloud and proprietary AI chip strategy. By designing its own chip specifically for its cloud infrastructure and its AI applications, it aims to optimize performance and efficiency, much like Nvidia did with its hardware-software co-design. The goal is to create that seamless hardware-software cloud stack, make it the preferred platform for AI development within its ecosystem, particularly, you'd assume, in China.
So create their own CUDA, essentially, for
Yeah.
their ecosystem.
That's the potential play. Could Alibaba's proprietary chip foster a similar developer ecosystem, perhaps tailored to the unique demands and regulatory environment within China? Could it create its own version of a SUDA for the Chinese market, effectively locking developers into Alibaba Cloud and its custom hardware? This integrated approach is a direct lesson from NVIDIA's playbook. But as we discussed, Alibaba faces the challenge of building this ecosystem pretty much from scratch, against established global players and within a very specific national context. It's a tall order. And, this perfectly illustrates that point we made earlier about the indispensable AI plus cloud combo. Think about OpenAI.
Right, with Microsoft Azure.
Exactly. OpenAI's groundbreaking work, particularly with models like GPT, simply wouldn't be possible without the massive computational power, the scalability, the specialized services provided by Microsoft Azure.
It's more than just raw compute.
Oh, much more. It's about the sophisticated cloud infrastructure that handles petabytes of training data, provides high-bandwidth networking, offers specialized AI tools and platforms for model development, deployment, monitoring. It ensures the reliability, security, compliance needed for such demanding AI work. Azure provides the entire MLOps machine learning operations pipeline, from data ingestion right through to model serving.
So that partnership really underscores the need for hyperscale cloud.
It absolutely does. It underscores how advanced AI breakthroughs are inherently tied to robust hyperscale cloud infrastructure. It reinforces the power of these centralized cloud providers in enabling cutting-edge AI. And for you, our listener, this model reinforces the enduring power, maybe even the necessity, of centralized cloud providers for certain tasks, even as we discuss the emergence of decentralized alternatives. It highlights the formidable challenge decentralized networks face in matching that kind of integrated industrial scale capability, especially for frontier AI research.
We've talked quite a bit about how this kind of news from traditional tech giants can create a ripple effect in the crypto world, especially for these AI tokens. Can you give us a couple of concrete examples, again, projects that really embody this correlation and show the market's reaction? Give us a clearer picture of this narrative-driven phenomenon.
Absolutely. Fetch.ai, FET, and SingularityNet, AGIX, are prime examples that our sources consistently bring up. These projects have seen significant surges in their market performance, and often that correlates very strongly with general AI news and adoption trends, especially when major players like Alibaba or even OpenAI Microsoft make headlines.
You can see it in the charts.
You can often see it reflected pretty clearly in AI token index performance charts. These tokens frequently move in tandem with broader AI market sentiment. It's a direct manifestation of that narrative spillover effect we talked about.
And remind us briefly what they do, Fetch and SingularityNet.
Sure. Fetch.ai, their vision is about building a decentralized network for autonomous economic agents. Basically, AI-driven services and marketplaces that can operate independently, interact with each other without central control, automating tasks across industries using AI agents. SingularityNet is focused more on creating a decentralized marketplace for AI services, allowing developers to share, monetize, access AI algorithms and models globally. They have a longer-term vision towards building artificial general intelligence, AGI, through a collective decentralized effort.
So both deeply embedded in that decentralized AI future vision.
Very much so. And their market movements really illustrate the power of narrative-driven investing in crypto. Investors see big tech pouring billions into AI, and then they look for crypto projects positioned to benefit from that trend, even if the direct financial link or partnership isn't always immediately obvious.
Right, the sentiment drives the investment.
Exactly, sentiment and future speculation, which, while exciting due to the potential for rapid price jumps, also carries inherent risks, of course. The pump can be significant, but it's often fueled more by the story and future hopes than by immediate measurable revenue or concrete established partnerships. Need to be aware of that.
Let's dig into another specific project then, one that's directly tackling that compute problem we discussed, particularly for specialized hardware like GPUs, render network. How does RNDR fit into this picture of growing demand for specialized hardware? What makes its approach unique?
Yeah, Render Network, RNDR, is a fantastic case study in the power and potential of decentralized compute, particularly for these specialized graphics-intensive or parallel processing tasks. It essentially leverages idle GPU power from a global network of contributors. Originally focused heavily on rendering 3D graphics for film, gaming, design.
Like a distributed render farm.
Exactly. Think of it as a global Airbnb for high-end GPUs, but managed and secured by a blockchain layer handling transactions and ensuring work integrity. But increasingly, its utility extends to AI and general compute applications too, because many AI tasks, like training neural networks, heavily rely on the same kind of parallel processing power that GPUs excel at.
So it addresses the hardware demand directly.
It directly addresses that surging demand for specialized hardware, especially GPUs. Centralized cloud providers, while massive, might struggle sometimes to scale efficiently or affordably, or provide the specific types of GPUs needed for every niche use case, or handle sudden, intense spikes in demand from, say, AI researchers. Render offers a flexible, potentially cost-effective, and definitely decentralized alternative. It taps into this vast, distributed pool of existing hardware resources.
Democratizing access.
That's the idea, democratizing access to high-end computational power, allowing artists, developers, AI researchers to tap into these resources on an as-needed, pay-per-use basis. The RNDR token is central to its economy used for payments, staking, governance. This kind of decentralized infrastructure is becoming incredibly relevant as AI development continues to lean so heavily on GPUs, creating this direct synergy. Growth in AI fuels demand for distributed rendering and compute power like Render provides. And, just to circle back one more time to China's complex role and make that connection really clear, the Conflux blockchain is absolutely crucial for understanding their specific strategy towards Web3.
The compliant blockchain.
Compliant blockchain. It doesn't shy away from that label. It actively positions itself that way. It explicitly aims to bridge the gap between traditional Chinese enterprises and Web3 technologies, but within China's specific, and let's face it, stringent regulatory environment.
A key distinction from global Web3.
A critical distinction. Conflux operates on a unique consensus mechanism, a tree graph structure, designed for high throughput and scalability while trying to maintain some decentralization. Crucially, it's also EVM compatible, meaning Ethereum developers can build on it relatively easily, but within that framework designed to meet Chinese regulations.
So harnessing blockchain, but on their terms.
Precisely. It showcases a deliberate choice by China. Harness the tech, but strictly on their own terms. Prioritizing control, oversight, deep integration with existing state-controlled systems and major enterprises. It's a clear signal they aren't abandoning blockchain or Web3 entirely. They're crafting a bespoke, regulated version, likely prioritizing applications that benefit the state and big corporations, supply chains, digital identity, enterprise data solutions, maybe even underpinning a future digital yuan, while tightly managing anything speculative or unauthorized financially.
So Conflux facilitates these use cases.
Exactly. Conflux's role in facilitating these compliant use cases highlights that potential future where different national or regional Web3 ecosystems emerge, distinct from the global, permissionless ideal, yet still leveraging the underlying tech for specific strategic goals, China's unique path in the blockchain space.
Wow, okay. What a deep dive that was into Alibaba's AI leap. We've really unpacked its strategic shift, haven't we, towards becoming this potential powerhouse in cloud computing and proprietary AI chips, highlighting its incredible ambition becoming China's answer to Nvidia and AWS rolled into one. And we really delved into those fascinating and frankly crucial geopolitical implications of that move,
Uh-huh.
especially with the U.S. chip restrictions, the potential for a split global tech landscape.
Yeah, the stakes are high.
They really are. But it didn't stop there. We also thoroughly explored the significant ripple effects this has right across the crypto and Web3 space. From that surge in AI-related tokens, FET, AGIX, RNDR, tracking those institutional AI narratives, to the ongoing fundamental debate about centralized versus decentralized cloud infrastructure. It's clear these worlds are far more intertwined than they often seem.
Definitely connected.
We've seen how just one strategic move by a tech giant can send shockwaves across seemingly disparate sectors, connecting global politics, corporate strategy, and the absolute cutting edge of decentralized technology.
And if we just connect this to the bigger picture one last time, Alibaba's dual push in cloud and AI chips, it really isn't just a corporate strategy anymore aimed at market dominance. It's increasingly looking like a national imperative with profound global consequences. This development fundamentally shifts the tech landscape. It highlights both the enduring allure of centralized power, the efficiency, the scale, the integrated control it offers, but simultaneously, it underscores the growing urgent need for decentralized alternatives, especially in a world that is becoming just insatiably hungry for computational power. The choices being made today by giants like Alibaba and by these burgeoning decentralized networks, they'll resonate for decades. So the question for you, our listener, to really mull over is this. How do you see this dual dynamic playing out in the long term? Which path centralized dominance, with its efficiencies and controls, or decentralized resilience, with its promises of sovereignty and censorship resistance, which path do you believe will ultimately shape the future of AI and Web3? The answer isn't simple, and the implications are truly vast.
That is a powerful thought to chew on. Really puts the ball in your court, doesn't it? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Alibaba's strategic pivot and all its far-reaching implications. We sincerely hope you feel more informed, maybe even a little more curious, about the intricate connections between all these evolving worlds. Until next time, keep digging, keep learning, and definitely keep asking those big questions.